Before we get to your scheduled video, please remember that likes and comments tell YouTube to promote our work to other people, and subscribing to the channel tells you when something new drops. You can also head to the link tree in the description to peruse my books, join us on Discord, or support us on Patreon. You can get episodes of Journey of Wrestling and Violent Profiles early, as well as a load of other treats. Even just $1 a month earns you a name drop for being cool. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Greetings and salutations, fellow anthropomorphic cartons of eggnog. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined as always by the boy.
Hey.
This is the Two Nerds Podcast. We're talking about All Elite Wrestling World's End 2024. Before we get into that, we need to talk about who's cool. That's going to be our Trash Elite, Rob, and a guy from Ohio. Distrucity KTL, Kitty Holbrook, DG. On the tip of your tongue, Drake Starstorm, Thomas Austin Jr., and Passion Killer 711. We are quite grateful for all of you. This is a pay-per-view. I don't feel like I have much to talk about, but that is the death knell. That is the curse that we often say. So I'd like to speed pretty quickly through what's crumpin'. What's been crumpin' with you, my guy?
Well, a fair amount has been crumpin' with me.
Indeed. It is the holiday season. I think we've both been crumping through that.
Indeed. Let's see. What is the most recent thing that has been crumpin'? Did we mention Marvel Rivals last time?
We did. We played a little WoW. We played a little Marvel Rivals. We watched some Ninja Turtles while I wrapped some Christmas presents. We did the gift exchanges and holiday feasts. I feel like there was something else.
I watched most of the show Secret Level on Amazon Prime.
I've not seen that yet.
We might do a podcast on it when it's over. It depends on how much we have to say.
Another trick is we still have some Patreon-sponsored reviews to do. And it is this is the last podcast of the year. Next year starts with the 2024 in review and our movie homework podcasts.
So we've got plenty in the tank for you, and this will be the final podcast of our anniversary year.
It is. There's a couple of things we wanted to get into. I think we might talk about those more in the year in review. But yeah, there were a couple more anniversary episodes I wanted to touch on, but we just didn't end up having the time. Thankfully, because of our wonderful patrons and the stuff they told us to watch. Whether we liked it or not, I appreciate you for showing it off to us. And now we know a little bit more about you guys.
Yeah.
So that's what's crumping with us. Let us know what's crumping with you in the comments below. What if they moved them to the side? What if they invalidated, 15 years of YouTube?
Then that would be odd. On YouTube Shorts, they are on the side.
Let us know on the side. Actually, you can't call to action in YouTube Shorts. You're not allowed.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I heard anyway. From a YouTuber. So, he's not really a YouTuber anymore. I think he stopped. He didn't beat the case. He completed it. Anyway, let's move into All Elite Wrestling World's End. We got to see this one on time, live and in person, at our TVs, not at the wrestling venue. And if you guys hear some weird noises in the background, we've got we've got wind advisories. So if there's thumping and bumping and bees, it is what it
windy.
is. It is quite windy. So yeah, we actually watched the what do they call it? Countdown? 0 hour?
Yeah, we watched the pre-show and everything.
Yeah, pre-show. Do we do spoiler-free reviews of pay-per-views?
You know what? Let's do one.
Sure.
Might as well.
Yeah, why
This
not?
was a good pay-per-view.
Best pay-per-view I've seen from AEW in a long time. And I don't think it was any one particular thing.
Just quality. There were the pre-show wasn't great.
It was fine.
The pre-show was all a bunch of stuff that definitely belonged on the pre-show for the most part. And then once you actually hit the main card, that shit was gas. It was just quality. There wasn't a bad match.
But they did not show the video packages on the pre-show. They left them only to the main card. And they did promos throughout the main card. So you had moments to breathe, time to go grab a piss, whatever.
Every match was pretty reasonable in terms of length. There was a reasonable number of matches. Ultimately, this was a reasonable length of time. Honestly, not only was the wrestling gas, which is often the case at AEW, not always, but more often than in other wrestling feds I have watched previously, but they feel like they really hung it together well. Yeah. They got the assignment on this one, guys.
I don't know how much I'm necessarily excited about anything that transpired, looking forward to the future or what have you. in excess of the typical, but it was just such a quality show that doesn't matter as much this time, which is nice because I've been harping on that for a while. So to ramble through the pre-show rather quickly here, we had Layla Gray versus Toni Storm, a relative newcomer to wrestling in general and AEW in specific.
Yep, she's done some stuff on the indies, I guess, but she was recently signed to AEW. She's very excited to be here. It is Tony time.
Yeah, it's her new catchphrase. It sounds a lot like Tiffy Time from NXT. I don't know if she should be doing that. Kind of a ripoff.
I feel like maybe she's got a knack for gimmicks that are like an homage to other gimmicks from before. I feel like, I don't know. It's just something seems like that might do well.
I think that's a stretch, but if you say so. She's a pretty good wrestler. She was not in there against a good wrestler. Layla Gray needs to cook for a little longer.
Yeah, top flight attendant, not... No, brother. Not prepared.
I don't think she's, like, bad. They said she's only been wrestling for 4 years after she botched one of her many botches. I feel like you should have a better grasp of it by that point, but, look, I'm not a wrestler.
You did better than I would do, but, I also am not trying to be a pro wrestler, so that's not really high praise.
Speaking of not trying to be a pro wrestler, Toni Storm went over, by the way. We had Jeff Jarrett wrestling against QT Marshall, who brings the doom. We missed this angle, but we get it.
Yeah, he's doing, that's the thing. It's good.
Yeah.
He had a little promo before his match. It was a genuinely good character beat from QT Marshall, of all people.
He's pretty all around. It's just that he hasn't really had the opportunity. It's something that drives me nuts about WWE, and a little bit with AEW as well. It's the shame he's not over attitude when you don't give them a chance.
QT Marshall is a dyed-in-the-wool turbo jobber in AEW. I once saw him lose a match to -1. It was no shot.
Yeah, they put on a decent performance. He refused to sell the stroke. Barely got hit in the arm by it, and if you know what the stroke is as a move, you know that's sad.
He put it over, but he was not taking that move.
No. Jarrett wins and says that he's going to announce something about his career on the HBO Max simulcast show coming up in January. So he's probably winding down, unless he's winding us up.
Unless we're gonna get unless we're gonna get salmon coated again. I mean, we're gonna get Mark Henry. But I mean, it's past time probably. This last run has really shined up an apple that I never thought I would like. Yeah, so I'm really happy about recent Jeff Jarrett.
We have an 8-man tag, and that is Lio Rush, Action Andretti, who have split apart from Top Flight and are wearing big spiky coats. And the Murder Machines, which are Lance Archer and Brian Cage, both under the employ of Don Callis, and thus getting booked better for it, against the Outrunners and Top Flight. I'm not 100% sure why this match exists fully.
Well, so sometimes when you've booked up a pay-per-view, you have some members of your roster you wanted to get on the pay-per-view, but not really anything to do with them. So you put them together in a giant fuck-off tag match of a bunch of dudes versus a bunch of other dudes. Honestly, I feel like they could have fit 2 more dudes on each side, and it would have been fine.
I have this strange urge to choke you. Weird. Yeah, this was good, actually. The action in this was a lot better than the last 2 matches. I don't need to tell you guys that the Outrunners are amazing. Top Flight, although I've cooled off on them, especially in this angle, I don't understand why they're the baby faces. It's like they treated Action Andretti and Lio Rush like children while they were working together, and so they didn't take kindly to that and went and bought interesting coats to hang out away from them. Yeah, the Brian Cage, obviously. Lance Archer, I'm not a huge fan of, but he does the job. Lio Rush, so long as he's not retiring again anytime soon, I'm fine with. And Andretti's really quality talent. So this was 8 guys who are pretty damn good in the ring, and they did good work with it. I mean, it was a bit of a shit show. No one had a lot of time to get their time in.
They had 10 minutes. It was not... For an 8-man tag, that's
not a
a
lot.
blink.
But Lio Rush steals the pinfall for his team, which I think is the right call, and it was not the call I was expecting.
Yeah, you need to get... So, AEW has kind of an issue with getting their heels over, unless they're one of, like, the 3 heels who always go over. So, I think, as much as I love the Outrunners, I feel like this was the right call.
Yeah. You need to build up this new team of Lio Rush and Action Andretti. You've had the Murder Machines in some combination losing for so long.
They feel like jobbers despite being, Lance Archer was in world title matches when I started watching AEW. He feels like a jobber now. So you need to build him back up in terms of believability of winning matches.
Yeah, so I thought this was a good shout. And also, it puts over Lio Rush's character stealing the win like that. So that was pretty cool. This takes us away from the pre-show card. It moves us into the main card. I'll let you take the reins on this one so that my attitude doesn't ruin things. We're talking about Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay in the semi-final of one half of the Continental Classic.
This is a good opportunity to speak on the Continental Classic more generally. I think they did a much better job booking the Continental Classic generally this year than they did last year. With a round-robin tournament, you're probably going to end up with some jobbers who have no wins in a wrestling fed. But I still don't necessarily want that to be the case. But if someone is going to go undefeated, someone has to lose all of their matches. It feels like. But I feel like I don't want that to be the case. I don't really like that there are a couple people in the Continental Classic who weren't even able to rack up a draw. But aside from that, they still did a much better job booking this. I was much more unsure as to who I would be seeing in the finals at parts of this than last year. Now, it did end up being pretty much exactly who I thought it was going to be, but they managed to make me unsure at parts, and I like that.
I will say I also thought it was better booked, but I don't think I like round-robin tournaments. I think it does my head in a little bit because I'm not a sports stats guy. So I lose track of who's getting close to what, even when the announcers are telling me.
Telling you and showing you big graphics with very, easy-to-follow charts.
I feel like a real idiot going, well, what does that mean, though? And I just don't even ask questions anymore. I just kind of wait until it's almost over and go, oh, I guess that is interesting. It was pretty boring the rest of this time, though, so...
And they're not for everyone. I quite like a round-robin tournament. I think it's more interesting than a single elimination tournament because you have more opportunities for people to fight who don't normally wrestle.
I think it's more fair, but you do run the risk of what happened to me a lot last year is I didn't like a lot of the guys in the tournament, so it was seeing those guys over and over again.
Whereas this year it was mostly guys we liked.
Mostly. Will Ospreay was in there.
This is one of the semifinal matches, which is, I believe, the winner of one bracket and the runner-up of another bracket fighting each other for the finals for who's going to be in the finals for the title. And this was the winner of the Blue League, Kyle Fletcher, versus the runner-up of the Gold League, Will Ospreay. Excellent booking to arrange it so that these guys are in the semifinal, because this bridges in a storyline from before the tournament where Kyle Fletcher killed Will Ospreay and sent him into the void for a while.
And he slept on the man's couch.
Exactly. And
it's the greatest sin to sleep on a man's couch and then give him a tiger driver.
If you let someone sleep on your couch, or if you sleep on someone's couch and then you fucking turn on them, yeah, you're a piece of shit.
But it was for good reason, because he's Will Ospreay. Have you seen that smug prick?
And
he actually cut a really good promo a little later in the show. I do want to applaud him for that before we get too far into me bitching. But please continue.
This match was, as you might expect from a Will Ospreay pay-per-view match, fucking excellent. No matter how much bitter anti-copium my friend is on, he can't deny that Will Ospreay's an excellent pro wrestler.
No, and I never would. He's very talented. He has a lot of really cool moves. Honestly, he seems like a swell guy. I just don't like his promos at all, and it makes it really hard for me to get into him in general. Obviously, I said I enjoyed the one this time. However, I think there's something he does need to work on in terms of his in-ring ability.
What's that?
Don't cut so deep, you fucking psycho.
Yeah, listen, brother.
I've seen one worst blade job, and it was Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
That was, you girl bossed a little too close to the sun on that one, Willie.
Should have gate kept harder.
There were staples in that man's head, I think, in the second match he was in tonight. Spoilers, Will Ospreay wins this match. Great comeback win from having Kyle Fletcher kill him before the tournament. Really made Will Ospreay feel like he was coming from behind, despite the fact that he's, who he is.
He lost a lot in the tournament, and that was nice.
He lost a lot generally this whole year.
Yeah.
And, I understand from his perspective, he wants to help build up other stars. He even explicitly said after his loss to Swerve a few months ago, everyone should be okay to lose to the world champion. If you're not working with the company. You're not helping the storytelling. And even me, Will Ospreay, the guy who easily could have just walked into AEW and said, I want to be world champ forever, and it would have been very reasonable for them to go, okay. Even he does a lot to help build new talent, especially when there was friends like Kyle. But I think maybe he is taking that hit a little more than he needs to. Very honorable of him. But I don't know that it's totally necessary. But he does win here. In grand style after, again, trying to exsanguinate himself.
Yeah. I like what they're building with Kyle Fletcher, too. I wouldn't call him one of my favorites or anything, but I appreciate the good work.
His transformation from Will Ospreay's understudy to second Randy Orton has been phenomenal. I like new Kyle Fletcher enough that I remember his name now and don't simply refer to him as Open from Aussie Open. So... great work on building a new star. Yeah. They really have. He was dominant in the tournament. He beat Will Ospreay before that. They have cemented him as like a Takeshita level genuine new star. And I think that's really good. And honestly, kudos in kayfabe to Don Callis, who is apparently just the fucking best at this.
He's a great heater. Kudos out of kayfabe too.
Yeah, I mean, out of kayfabe, yes. He, by all accounts, a carny piece of shit, but good at his job.
We move on to Ricochet against Kazuchika Okada for the other half of those league crossing semifinals in the Continental Classic. Okada, of course, the Continental Champion, had the most to lose in this tournament. Ricochet has been doing a new heel persona where he laughs in people's faces, especially antagonizing Swerve recently. He tried to join the Hurt Syndicate, and the Hurt Syndicate went, you're too desperate, I gotta go.
Yeah, the Hurt Syndicate went, it's giving needy. Get away. And, like, his little shit heel fucking gimmick is bolstered by the fact that people are throwing toilet paper at him?
Yeah, and chanting bald at him.
Fucking wild. Crazy work, AEW fans.
Well, they went to the Hammerstein, man. This stuff happens there.
But I really like Ricochet's new character. It's entertaining.
Yes.
Ricochet's always been entertaining in the ring. This is the first time I've seen him be entertaining on a microphone, and so I'm very happy. He, however, does lose to the greatest tournament wrestler in the history of time, as he is in kayfabe, and honestly, probably out of kayfabe in terms of record. Like, at this point, Kazuchika Okada.
Okada's got such good face acting. And, man, there were a couple of spots I noticed throughout the night where he he moves so calmly and smoothly and with little. He's not pressed about it.
Efficient and workmanlike.
Yeah, the commentary team kept talking about his low resting heart rate because he's so chill.
Actually, I wanted to shout out commentary specifically regarding how they talked about Okada in this tournament and this night especially. The way Okada wrestles most of his matches, and most of the matches that even have like a third gear, not all of his matches do, can come across lazy. As if he's not trying that hard. And commentary really helps sell that's not what's happening. It's that he is pacing himself. He's actually very smart. He's doing a tactically sound thing, and he is able to keep his cool, keep his calm, and just go forward with his plan throughout the course of a match. It makes him seem in control and like badass in what would in a performance that may otherwise come across as not really putting in all that much effort. Because he's not. But they do a great job of selling it.
But I did notice as well, when he needs to get into place for a spot, whether he's on the offense or the defense, that man moves quick.
He has that third gear. Yeah. And in the big matches, he will break it out, and then, like, the train has no brakes, and it's wall-to-wall amazing wrestling.
Yeah. After the match, Swerve came out with Prince Nana, and they handed out a bunch of toilet paper and threw it at Ricochet.
I was a little annoyed at the time, but my friend here convinced me of how peak this was. The annoyance was more from, like, I'm so used to being annoyed by Swerve, and I was so enjoying new Ricochet that I didn't really, like, I was like, oh, come on, don't, he just lost the match. Don't further bury new Ricochet, who's actually entertaining. But I forgot that he's a heel, like, internally. And this does not bury new Ricochet. This gives him more heel shit to do.
Yeah. Ricochet antagonized Swerve first. Swerve was minding his own business.
Yes, this was very, as you put it, credit to you, this was the first, like, straight babyface move Swerve has pulled in a while.
Reminded me a lot of Attitude Era stuff. It was pretty fun.
Swerve wasn't bothering him. Swerve was minding his own business. Ricochet talked a lot of shit and couldn't back it up, so Swerve had to be like, as he put it, I'm going to embarrass you, and I'm going to make it big.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I liked it a lot. We move on to a pretty damn good women's title match, a Tijuana street fight between Thunder Rosa and Mariah May. Thunder Rosa's dad showed up, and he brought some dirt from the graveyards of Tijuana. I am not going to let this joke go. Some sand for the sandbag. Now, the reason I have to bring that up is I don't think she sandbagged in this match.
Shout out to Papa Rosa. He was there the whole card.
Yeah.
He just watched World's End from the front row.
Even RJ City pointed out at one point, usually when we've got special guests like this,
they show up for their match that someone they like is a part of, and then they go hang out in the box seats. No. He was down there in the pre-show.
And he stayed there until the main event, like he was still there. And
dude just likes watching wrestling.
Kept looking out for him. It was fun. I had a good time with him.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Thunder Rosa showed up to work today.
Yes, absolutely.
And reminded me a little bit why I liked her so fucking much when I started watching AEW, because I really liked Thunder Rosa.
I also appreciate the commentary put over Mariah May's striking. And they've done this before, but they did bring it up again here. She hits hard, and so does Thunder Rosa, and it looks good.
Thunder Rosa sold Mariah May's punches like she had lead in her fists.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's because it makes Thunder Rosa look better when she fights back from that. That's something I also will mention later. I forgot to mention it, but it'll come back around.
I don't have a lot to say about this one. It was pretty good. It was a plunder match, as they say these days. I'm not a huge fan of Mariah May's character, but I like her as a worker. So that was kind of nice.
I like Mariah May's character because she always manages to find a good contrast against the person she's fighting against. And I like that.
That's kind of what I mean. As a performer, whether it's in the ring or outside the ring, she mutates as necessary.
Yeah, and her character's loose enough that she can do that. There was a promo they showed a bit of in the video package. That way you don't really even have to search out the promo itself. It's in the video package before their match. where Mariah May talked about how Thunder Rosa lacks focus. She has all these things she's fighting for. Her family, her culture, her people, the title, so many things that she cares about. Mariah May has one thing she cares about: the AEW World Championship. And because her focus is clearer, she's going to win. And that's just a great, succinct sell of this match.
Yeah. Crazy finish to it, too. What a bump. I really liked it, and didn't overstay its welcome. It could have gone a little longer in my estimations. That's the case for most of the matches on this card.
There is exactly one match on this card which feels like it was given completely sufficient time.
I also think the Continental Classic was given the time it needed. But yes, Mariah May retains her title, and we move along to the finals, the result of the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royale. A surprise Adam Cole win against MJF, who has been the holder of the Dynamite Diamond Ring since it was a thing, a Dynamite Diamond thing. I was really hoping other things were going to happen in this storyline.
So, I said this a few different ways in the chat and live while we were watching. This was a fine step in this story. It kind of feels like this story's not over yet. It could easily be over. They did some stuff that would allow them to separate after the match, and I think that's probably good. I think it actually is better for both these talents if they separate for a while. Let things, cool off so they can come back later if they want to. But I mourn for the storyline this could have been, but for the fallible human nature of humans.
Their bones, their weak bones.
Their weak flesh bones. Ever since I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me. If Adam Cole and MJF had not both separately exploded into 1,000 pieces, this would have been peak. This would have been the best wrestling story in the past 15 years.
I still think it could have been peak. They took a storyline that had so many twists and turns, and we cooled off on it. They switched who was face and who was heel.
With absolutely no logical justification. And so they had to spend the entire rest of that feud trying to build a logical justification where one did not exist.
I would have had a turn here, and my heart of hearts, I wanted to see MJF and Adam Cole working together again, but I also would have accepted Matt Taven and Mike Bennett now under the employ of MJF, or Roderick Strong now fighting against Adam Cole, or anything. Any turn would have been interesting.
Instead, we got MJF winning, keeping his Dynamite Diamond Ring through chicanery of some type, I believe, and Adam Cole and the rest of Undisputed Era, the Undisputed Kingdom, with some substitutions from the original lineup, beat the shit out of MJF post-match to get their vengeance so that both people get something out of this, no one's fully buried, and they can move the hell on. Because this feud was doused. This storyline was fucked because of human bones being bad.
I still think they could have done something with it if they had put another turn toward the end.
I don't disagree with you. I don't think they wanted to.
No, and I respect that.
I think they both knew, and they seemed to, you could tell they both knew,
sure,
this isn't going to be what we really wanted it to be. Let's just wrap this up so it's not nonsensical, and there is an end to this story, and move the hell on.
And at this point, they've been working the same storyline for 2 years.
Couple, yeah.
Yeah,
so I don't fault them for wanting to be free of it. I'm not mad about what happened.
No.
And out of this, we get, Adam Cole and his group of 5 dudes who are all best friends. He gets his own little Bullet Club, and they get to go do stuff together now as faces. And MJF gets to go forth as the character, essentially, that he was before the Adam Cole storyline.
It's really clean, and there's nothing wrong with it. It was just underwhelming.
I don't disagree. It was underwhelming. Because there exists the alternate universe where the bodies of the wrestlers maintained their structural integrity, and it was the best wrestling storyline in 15 years.
Sure.
the universe can't be bargained with. That's not the timeline we live in.
Unfortunately. The timeline we live in, though, does have Powerhouse Hobbs, as far as I'm still aware, not injured. This might change by the time the show goes up.
I hope not.
I hope he's in perfect health. Fighting against Konosuke Takeshita, which is another wrestler I really like, for the AEW International Championship. It's kind of been on the back burner with the C2 going on, so it was good to see.
There's only so much screen time.
Yeah. It was good to see Hobbs and Takeshita in action, and Hobbs is back, and I love Hobbs. And after the conclusion of this match, I put into our chat, it's nice to give a shit about wrestling.
Powerhouse Hobbs is a... he's got it.
Yeah.
He's not always able to use it. Sometimes he makes really baffling decisions character-wise. But so long as someone is reining in, he is much like Tom Hardy in that Tom Hardy will always do a silly voice unless you stop him. Powerhouse Hobbs is going to do some goofy bullshit promo about his book or whatever unless you stop him. So long as someone exists to keep Powerhouse Hobbs in line, Powerhouse Hobbs has every tool you need to be a world champion.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to see him in that sector. I think he needs a title sooner than later. This guy's got, well past due accolades to be gifted. I could have used another 5 minutes of this match as well. These guys were putting it on. But, obviously, Hobbs at least looked like he tweaked his problematic leg during the match.
Which Takeshita pounced upon, took advantage of, and won.
Yes. But both of these guys performed. The fact that Takeshita could deadlift this man, Powerhouse
seemingly
Hobbs,
effortlessly. Hobbs ain't light.
No, it was amazing. What a contest. I was really thrilled with this. Thank you, local fans, for chanting, "Please be careful," after they fell off the turnbuckles. It was just good. It was
This was a great match. Much like, again, everything except one match. I'm sorry. No, you're right. The Continental Classic matches also got the time they needed. For the non-C2 matches, everything except one match didn't really get the full time it deserved.
But that's okay. Because we put that full time into Mercedes Moné versus Kris Statlander round 2, and this needed some time to cook up.
Yeah, because the first match was on the last pay-per-view, if you remember, and if memory serves, we spent a lot of time talking about how it was the absolute match of the night, unbelievably good. That's a hard act to follow.
Yeah. And I think they did a phenomenal job. If it was better than the first, it was only by a little bit. I wish that they hadn't been both gassed out toward the end.
But that did sell, like, these two absolutely were, like, just taking every single ounce of what they could and putting it into the match.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was maybe only like a minute that they were that gassed out anyhow. This was a really nice, slow burn to a hot finish. One of my favorite parts is Statlander's on the outside. She's stuck up in the rigging of the ring. And it looks like Mercedes is going to win by a 10 count. She goes back outside the ring and beats the crap out of her some more. Goes back in the ring and it looks like Mercedes is going to win by a 10 count. She goes back outside the ring again and beats the crap out of her some more. It was so honor mixed with dastardliness. I think she's really come into her gimmick.
Yeah, heel Mercedes is everything I wanted when when Mercedes showed up, and they didn't give me, because I feel like they knew that everyone would be so happy to see her that she couldn't be a heel from the start, so they gave her a heel gimmick anyway and just waited for everyone to catch up, which annoyed the shit out of me at the time. But now that everyone else is caught up and I don't feel like I'm taking crazy pills like Mugatu, this is fucking peak. This is excellent. This is amazing. This is an excellent gimmick that I really love watching. Kris Statlander, by contrast, has been really confusing and boring recently.
I like the way they framed it in the video package, where she's like, "I lost the TBS title and I lost my way. I've been doing stupid stuff."
I went to, like, I broke bad. I went to Garth Marenghi's dark place, and like now I'm trying to get back right again. That's a good way to make sense of a nonsensical face turn.
Yeah.
But this was just fucking great. It was just a great match.
Yeah,
there's only so many ways I can say they did a good job at the wrestle do, though.
Some crazy spots, just phenomenal work from both women. And that was another thing. Like, okay, Layla Gray wasn't great, but she just wasn't great. This was a lot of excellent women's wrestling on this card, and that's nice. It was the one thing I missed from WWE was reliably good women's wrestling, and we have it now.
And, like, the one thing I will say is that I would not have hated a Kris Statlander win here, because, like, losing two in a row to Mercedes is not great, but I'm not actually mad about it. I don't think it was the wrong call, because I feel like they're doing something with it. I feel like it's being used to help solidify Kris Statlander's face turn and give her something to work through. So she's not left out in the cold. And Mercedes is doing phenomenal work as the TBS champion, even if I think she could probably, she's more than able to simply move up to the world title. This is helping to solidify the TBS title more. And I don't even know that it needs it. Honestly, the TBS title is one of the better built championships in AEW.
Yeah. Honestly, it seems like they're trying to keep all their titles looking prestigious so that none of them are the WWF European Championship level.
Yeah, I can't think of an AEW title that is completely in the dumpster except the Trios title.
Yeah.
The Trios title is in the dumpster. I fully, right now, don't know who the Trios championships are.
It's the Death Riders.
Yeah, yes, that's right. It is. The Death Riders have the Trios championship, and they never defend it. Now, you know what? That's not... I tell a lie. Maybe they have a title match every week on Collision. I don't watch Collision. I wouldn't know.
So we go into the finals of the Continental Classic. Will Ospreay, battered, bloody, on wobbly legs, fighting up against Kazuchika Okada, reserved, only a little beat up, in control.
His mentor, his senior, the man who trained him and took him under his wing. And this is the prelude to the promo Will Ospreay made that White liked earlier, which was, I've wrestled this guy about 10 times. I've lost about 8 of them, so I'm going to need your help tonight, guys. You got to will me there.
Thankfully, I was in the audience.
This is the other thing I wanted to mention. I said I would come back around. Don Callis, I don't think he was out for commentary for this.
No, he was in the Takeshita Powerhouse Hobbs match.
But we were past that by the time it occurred to me. I just wanted to shout out Don Callis really quick. Again, because he does this thing that not a lot of heels do.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the smarter move, and all people should be doing it in almost all occasions. With rare exceptions for good storyline reasons. Don Callis never talks down his talent's opponent. If he has a managed talent, and that managed talent is fighting someone else in the ring, he does not talk that guy down. He doesn't talk about how he's a bum. He doesn't talk about how he's, incompetent or a bad wrestler or can't get it done or any of that bullshit. Don Callis rigorously talks up his opponents. He talks about how they're amazing and athletic and a threat and a danger. But here is why my guy is better. That is the correct way to do this.
I think there's a case to be made for a manager character who is downplaying people, or even a wrestler.
I think there's a case to be made for that. I think that should be the heel commentator's job.
Perhaps, or it should be used more sparingly than it currently is. It feels like that's the default.
The heel commentator can get away with doing that because the heel commentator, if it's a proper straight heel commentator, should be kind of a delusional asshole. Speaking of, shout out to Nigel McGuinness for his transformation from reasonable man who just hates Bryan Danielson to full delusional asshole. He's doing a great job.
I missed Taz. It was nice to get a breath of him in the Hammerstein. This was a great match. This is a great conclusion. Okada hit like 5 shotgun drop kicks. There was so many sequences where they almost hit a move for like a whole minute in a row.
Yeah, you can just tell that these guys have wrestled each other both, for the in kayfabe, they know each other so well that they know what they're going to try reason. And out of kayfabe, my God, they work together like an oil machine reason.
Rather surprisingly, Okada went over.
I had picked Ospreay to win this.
Yeah, I figured they were just going to put the hat on his head, especially because Okada hasn't been doing much with the title since the Young Bucks left.
Basically since the end of the Elite storyline, which ended because the Death Riders took over.
Right.
And...
But I'm not against it.
No. I don't think it's bad to keep it on Okada. I think it would be good if Okada had something to do. And then...
I'd honestly forgotten it until you said, if Okada had something to do. Instead, Christopher Daniels comes out and says he's no longer the EVP interim guy.
VP or whatever.
And says there's a new EVP in the house and introduces Kenny Omega, who comes out and awards Okada his title. They say nothing to each other. They eye-fuck each other for a little while, and then they leave.
And I like that, everyone's like, oh, Kenny Omega's the hero of AEW. He's going to come back, and he's going to beat that dastardly Jon Moxley. We're all just waiting for the hero to come back. And then Kenny Omega comes back and goes, no, I want to keep doing Japan stuff. I really am more interested in New Japan stuff right now. I'm going to wrestle Okada, and my actual first comeback match is going to be in Japan. AEW is kind of cringe, actually.
If I've learned anything from this event, it's a reminder that I should not armchair book. It only makes me sad. That being said, the hero of AEW had his call ignored during the pre-show by Daddy Magic. That's my 2 bits, and I'm sticking to it. So we come to the main event, which is a 4-way that was set up pretty well throughout the last couple of months. Hangman Adam Page, Orange Cassidy, Jon Moxley, and Jay White, Moxley as your incoming champion, fighting for the AEW title. It's a 4-way, so there's no disqualification, as is typically the case. These guys they've been doing the faces having a hard time staying on the same page, and that's an interesting turn to that gimmick.
They all hate Jon Moxley so much. Well, there is one actual face and 2 heels who are getting cheers because they are fighting Jon Moxley. Jay White and Hangman Adam Page.
Jay White, I think, is supposed to be a face. He's just Jay White.
Jay White is perhaps a great example of a natural heel in real life. But he's not changed how he acts at all. He's very much, if he is a babyface, it's one of those babyface because you happen to be pointed at the heels right now sort of babyface. And they've been doing that. They aren't getting along as a wonderful comparison to the Death Riders, who are 1 unit. Which is the bigger number, 5 or 1? And, they are one army with one purpose, and that one purpose is keeping that briefcase in Marina Shafir's hands.
I don't know if I've mentioned it. I think I did last pay-per-view. I am really enjoying the Death Riders. This has been Jon Moxley's best work. This is the guy I've been promised for years, and it's good to finally see him.
I have been avoiding internet discourse around AEW for a while now, just because I find most of the internet discourse around AEW in general insufferable because of tribalism. I was yesterday years old when I found out that the internet hates the Death Riders. They think it's a dumb gimmick that they hate, and there's always interference. That's why Moxley retains. That's just stupid. You guys called 3 fucking years of the Bloodline peak cinema. I will hear nothing from any of you.
I don't care for the Bloodline. I tried to watch it a couple of times, but that's because I'm not into crime families. I'm way more interested in cults.
And the Death Riders are a cult.
100%. I really like how Jon Moxley makes Wheeler Yuta the poop shoot and beats him up when other things upset him, or if he likes Wheeler.
And Wheeler seems kind of into it.
Yeah, Wheeler's got a lot going on there. This was a really good match. I could have used maybe 5 more minutes of this, but it wasn't bad what we got. And I think that's true of everything. I don't think everything suffered because it didn't get that extra 5 minutes. But, man, I'm used to AEW matches going just a hair longer.
And you know what? If you're going to deliver a pay-per-view in a reasonable amount of time...
Got to cut something.
There's got to be cuts somewhere, and this time they decided to cut time out of everything except Mercedes Moné's matches, which makes sense given what I understand about her contract.
Hey, it was a great match. I don't know that any of these matches would have been better than that match.
If you're gonna use your evil powers, use them for good.
Yeah. Jay White takes the fall on this, so Moxley can retain, which is the right call because Jay White sucks.
I like Jay White. For the record, I think Jay White's cool. I like his promos. I'm not gonna say they're great, but Daniel Bryan's promos, Bryan Danielson's promos, are never great.
I think
you can hang mid-tier promos on a top-tier talent and get the most over guy in the universe. I've seen it happen twice with the same guy.
Jay White sells well. He also does a move I love, not the way I like to see it done, and it's his finisher. And it bothers me. And I don't like the way he will twist any face sentence into being a heel thing on accident.
The Kiwi accent, I think, might be inherently silly.
I mean, it might be. It doesn't help things. Like, it's not even the accent in general, it's his accent. There are certain words that he devours within his accent that just stop to sound menacing because of their defeat. But it doesn't matter, because he got pinned, and he's the least eligible bachelor.
Look, that's fully the reason he was in this match.
Yeah,
he was in this match to take the fall so that you don't put another pinfall on Orange Cassidy or put another pinfall on Hangman Page. Now, he did beat Hangman Page like fucking 3-1 in their feud before this, so it's not like Jay White's hurting for wins either. So I feel like him taking the fall was absolutely the right call. Moxley retaining was absolutely the right call, though I will say I would have taken a Hangman win with a smile on my face. I'm really enjoying the Death Riders, much like my compatriot here. This is the best work of Moxley's career, and that's me talking. I don't think all of them are available anymore, but if you were able to go back and watch all the old WWE podcasts, I was the world's biggest Shield mark. This is the best work of Moxley's career.
You should have seen this guy pop when they Shield powerbombed Moxley.
I straight up did. They gave him the Shield triple powerbomb into an announce table, and I popped up. I marked out. It was amazing.
Mox also sold it really well. Like, no, anything but this.
No, I know this move. Yeah. It's so good at killing people. I know that.
It was good. It was a really good match. It was a really good show. We cap it off with the return of Adam Copeland, who tries his best to find a working mic and then screams at Jon Moxley that he's going to be his next challenger.
And Adam Copeland, as always, in his recent parts of his career, desperately finding a faction to try and worm his way into and usurp. This time he has become rated FTR, which I think is a good one.
Yeah. I'm excited for the future. Do you have any final thoughts to share with us about this pay-per-view event, my friend?
Not really.